I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And there was a big story breaking out on the West Coast today out in Oregon. Unbelievable story involving a woman who was sexually assaulted, then locked in a cinder block cell. So there she is, right? She's been sexually assaulted. This predator now has her locked up behind cinder blocks and this door. And somehow, some way, she's able to fight her way out of that door, track down someone, call 911, and rescue herself. Unbelievable story. Now the FBI is on this case, and they're wondering how many other victims are out there. And I'm wondering, are there any victims who may be locked up in a cinder block cell somewhere around the country? Because this guy has lived all over the place. Let me show you what the FBI had to say today.
The disturbing evidence uncovered to date points to an individual's ongoing and escalating pattern of violence targeting women in multiple states throughout the country. When police responded to a 911 call in Klamath Falls, Oregon on July 15th, they discovered a makeshift cinder block cell with a metal door and a singular light bulb above for light in a residential garage, and a woman who bravely escaped her terrifying circumstances. 29-year-old Negasi Zuberi is also known by several aliases. One is Sakima, another is Justin Haichi, and another Justin Kouassi. He is currently in federal custody for alleged interstate kidnapping after a Seattle woman escaped his home in Klamath Falls, more than 450 miles away from where she initially met him. Thereafter, she alleges she was kidnapped, shackled, sexually assaulted, and locked in this makeshift cell. According to the complaint, the woman fought for her life, beating the doors and the walls of this cell with bloodied hands. Through her perseverance, she broke free and waved down a passing motorist asking for their help to call 911. The FBI and our partners, to include Oregon State Police, acted quickly and were able to safely track down Mr. Zuberi within hours of his efforts to evade law enforcement. Our partners at the Reno Police Department, Nevada State Police, and Las Vegas FBI safely captured him after a 45-minute standoff in a public parking lot at a major shopping center in Nevada with no injuries to themselves or others.
On July 17th, we obtained a federal criminal complaint charging Mr. Zuberi with one count of interstate kidnapping. That charge carries with it a maximum sentence of up to life in federal prison. Law enforcement arrested him in Nevada. He appeared in federal court there in front of a judge on July 26th. And that judge in Reno ordered him detained pending his transfer to Oregon. The U.S. Marshal Service is now in the process of bringing him back to Oregon to face the kidnapping charge, and we anticipate that he'll appear in federal court in Medford, Oregon, in the coming weeks. At that hearing, our office will seek his continued detention and argue that he is a flight risk and a danger to the community.
Our investigation has continued vigorously over the past 2 weeks since Zuberi's arrest, extending into multiple states where he resided from August 2016 into the present. Those states include Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, New York, New Jersey, Alabama, and Florida. To date, Zuberi has been linked to at least 4 sexual assaults in 4 other states. We believe there may be more victims. Victims may know Zuberi by the name Sakima, and it is believed he may have used several different methods to gain control of his victims, to include drugging their drinks and impersonating a law enforcement officer. Finally, I want to thank the brave women who fought for their lives to get us where we are here today. Now, it is our turn to take their burden and fight for them, any other victims out there, and seek justice.
Unbelievable. If we could put back up on the screen the images of that room that she was able to somehow, some way get out of, because I can't imagine what happens. What's the rest of her life like if she's not able to fight her way out of this cell? I mean, it says, I mean, look at that, cinder blocks, bloodied hands to get out of there, to punch her way through that door. Incredible, incredible. By doing that, how many future victims has this woman saved? So, as you heard from the FBI and investigators, this suspect lived in other states. Let me put those states up there because it's important, because there could be so many victims out there. California, Washington, Oregon, Colorado, Utah. Now we go down south, Florida, New York, New Jersey, Alabama, Nevada, across the country. And they finally caught this guy. Finally. And I'm wondering tonight, is it just sexual assault? And I don't mean just sexual assault, but is he murdering people also? Are there victims out there that he... I mean, if you are engaging in this activity and you're showing them your face, etc., like, how do you expect to get away with this? I mean, do we have another? We have a serial rapist potentially here. Do we have another potential serial murderer? Let me bring in our think tank. Join us live in studio tonight. Criminal defense attorney, entertainment attorney, former state attorney in Florida, former assistant DA in Atlanta, Daryl Cohen. Also joining us tonight, criminal defense attorney Meg Strickler, and finally, criminal defense attorney, the man behind the glasses, Josh Schiffer. Daryl, do you think we're looking for bodies? Do you think we're looking for other prisons that this man created that women may be in or may have died in?
I think we have to assume, since we found this one prison, cinder blocks, that there may be more. And if you always look for the worst, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst, we'll know. And I want to point out this woman used superhuman strength of emotion to get out. She did something that probably very few other people could have done. So kudos to her. I hope she's okay in terms of her mental stability. But oh my gosh, this is not
heroic. It's heroic.
It's beyond heroic.
Beyond heroic. So let's look at this case now, right? I heard federal charges, right? When the feds get you, the time is always more serious, and it's like real time. State court, it's like, oh, you're sentenced to 20 years, and they're out in like 3. Like, well, what happened? No, this is federal time, right? Interstate, all of that. So what could take place here now? Because there are other potential victims out there and potential murder victims, I would say. That's got to be on the table, right? Is there any way to convince this guy to spill the beans, to give up all the information that he has?
As you've seen in other cases, you're never going to have that happen. They're not going to sit there and fuss about everything. But I think by putting his picture out there and the states that you just put on the screen, we're going to learn about his background. Where did he leave? Where did he work? What did he do? What was his work like each day? What did he do at night? What were his things he did on the daily? And that's going to bring out a lot of information about him. And then we're going to hear about more victims. And also, remember, this is just a criminal complaint right now. It's not an indictment.
It is just a criminal complaint. And what Meg says is really the most important part. With these kinds of cases where there are victims that a lot of times carry embarrassment, maybe they're sex workers, maybe they work someplace they don't want their family to know about. They're terrified about even reporting someone that may have been weird or different or strange or concerning or downright dangerous. So sharing his face in the community, making people aware, is really, really important.
But I don't mean to interrupt.
No,
I'm gonna a little bit.
You're gonna.
He's going to be given the opportunity to talk. He's going to be given the opportunity to roll and to tell whatever else he may have done, because he may get a deal where he will only spend 90% of the rest of his life in prison, because he keeps his mouth shut. He's staying in prison forever.
So when they said it's up to life, I mean, is he facing actual life? What are we really looking at here?
In the Fed system, he's done. He's out.
Fed system, this dude's cooked. Here's the only time he talks. after he's convicted and sentenced to the rest of his life in prison, every federal inmate basically tries to figure out some way to curry favor with the judges and the board.
Here's my concern with
that's
this
when
case,
they'll
though.
spill.
Like sexual assault is bad, right? He was taking it to the next level. You know, building this cinder block cell.
Yeah, we know he's
that is, and you think it's the first time he did
No,
it?
you don't
No, it's the
start
first
there.
time he got caught,
You
not
don't
the
start
first time.
there.
So
he
what
did it.
happened to the last woman that he locked in a
That's what I'm
cinder
saying.
block
There's
cell?
a virtual guarantee that there's a history here that we're going to learn about, that he gradually got to this massively psycho
But you're not
level.
going to after you put someone in a cinder block cell like that, you're not releasing them. You're not like letting them go.
She was
Not
done.
gonna-
She was done.
And remember,
She was going to get killed.
She was absolutely going to be murdered.
He was captured after a 45-minute standoff involving him holding a small child and his, I believe, wife or girlfriend being present right there. There wasn't just this one victim that we know about in the cell. There are definitely other people.
Is there a way, the fact that he has a family, is that ever a part of the negotiation? Like, hey, we'll put you in this prison so your family
there's
can
no
visit.
Not with this
negotiation.
crime.
No.
He
No.
is not in a position.
But I'm saying to find other victims. Like, I understand prosecutors, you want to put them away. But as a prosecutor, I'm also looking at this saying, oh my goodness, this guy's done this in 4 other states that we know of, Where are the ones we don't know of? Where are the bodies?
When you want to do a crime special on being completely impotent as a practitioner, try to defend a case like this against aggressive federal prosecutors.
I have.
Literally. Meg's been there.
Yeah.
You can't get these prosecutors to give you a breath of air or a crack of light.
You're done.
They're there to cook dinner, and it's done.
And they should be doing that. With this type of crime, with this type of evidence, with this type of defendant, they absolutely need to do what they need to do as a federal prosecutor, as an assistant U.S. attorney, put him away where he will never see
I
the
get
light
that
of day.
part. I'm wondering, I can't imagine this was the only
It isn't.
victim that
won't
were in
be.
those circumstances. And if there were other people that were locked up for whether it was a week, 2 weeks, 2 days, I don't think it's a catch and release program.
No, it's not. And on
It's a
that,
catch and kill.
On that point, we're going to see people try to connect their mysteries locally with this, because it's another person that now we've identified has been a criminal across state lines doing the kind of things that result in missing persons reports with no clue.
Now we got his DNA too.
Now we got his DNA.
Do they take the DNA right away, or does it take time?
Oh, they took it right away.
Right away.
Yes.
No, he got swabbed pretty quickly. And here's the other thing I want to say, because I am a criminal defense attorney. I'm sick and tired of every time I mention one of my clients getting dosed, prosecutors turn around and tell me I'm lying. Because guess what? People are dosed all the time. The predators that are out there, they're not fair. Your kids at college, your people out in the community, people get dosed all the time.
What does dosed mean, Josh?
A Mickey, a Quaalude, a
okay.
roofie. You know, you could tell us a lot of stories probably from back when that was something you could buy at, you know, basically a convenience store. And now people are using some of these drugs to take advantage specifically of vulnerable women, children, and prosecutors. Time and time again will turn around and tell me that I'm just lying and making it up.
Now, the other thing about this defendant, he was also impersonating police officers. So part of his MO would be, okay, I'm going to dress up like a police officer. I'm going to have like a stun gun or something with me, and I'm going to approach sex workers, an escort, a prostitute, and take her into custody, and those would be some of the other people that he abducted. I'm wondering now, do we look at, because we're in the middle of the Long Island serial killer.
Yeah.
He lived in New York. He lived in New Jersey. Did he live in Atlantic City?
Yet another reason we should legalize and regulate sex workers, because it would make that whole
They're
universe
still
a lot safer.
prostitutes. You know what? We've changed the name from prostitutes to sex workers. Really?
We've written a couple good books. One of this really big book has a famous prostitute in it. You should pick it up every once in a while. So
Don't be stormy with me.
I was more talking in the biblical sense. So one of the things that we have to deal with is the fact that these crimes are crimes often of opportunity, and one of the real problems the state has is the contribution of the victims in the eyes of the public to whatever befalls them. And that's a big problem. Being a sex worker or being a drug dealer or being somebody should not give an excuse to to be a victim of crime.
Are they less likely to come forward?
Yes.
Yes.
Right? They're less
Absolutely.
likely to come forward.
Yeah.
But you know, you capture someone, you take them 450 miles, you put them in this cinder block cell. I think what investigators have to do here is go back to every place where he's ever lived, and can you get a search warrant for these places?
He will.
At this
Yeah, he
point,
will.
no problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
No,
No
they
problem.
will.
Because there's other people living there,
Don't
but it's
care.
not a
No
problem.
problem.
No problem.
They'll
you
get
get-
ground penetrating radar.
Yes.
If they think that there's disturbed dirt, man, these are the cases law enforcement loves.
Look at
But they're not going to really look at it, in my view, unless they think a woman or two women or 20 have disappeared. Otherwise, he's locked up, he's arrested, they've got him, he's in custody, he's going to stay there till the day after he dies.
But they got 4 other victims in 4 other states
Right.
before they even went public with this.
Exactly.
Right. So
It's gonna be
we
ugly.
shall see. We shall see. Again, heroic effort by the victim in all of that. The survivor. We should call her a survivor tonight.